all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. D'Adriano?
Here.
Mr. Rowley?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. Would someone like to audit the bills?
Oh, is that me? I'm sorry. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 13 dated July 10th, 2020 in the amount of $250,376.09. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Budget transfers.
I will make a motion the town board approve budget request 11R, which is increasing the minor sales other revenue account, $625, and increasing town clerk contractual, $1,875, and reducing the contingency account, is that right? $1,250. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request number 13 with regard to recreation equipment and capital outlay. And that is moving money from recreation contractual expense account, $1,246, to recreation equipment and capital outlay expense account, $1,246. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, first up, Clean Air Invoices. Back in 2018, we had contracted with a company to do all the preventative maintenance on the boilers that we have in the town of Patterson, and there are many boilers that we have with all the buildings. Most of them were done fairly well, but we did run into a problem where they had made some improper adjustments, which ended up blowing the boiler. As a result, we did not pay them anything. They have been going back and forth with the town of Paterson seeking compensation. The latest proposal, I believe you all have seen at this point, it is essentially requesting that the town pay for the boilers that were correctly maintained, but discounting the one boiler that was not maintained, as well as the bill that we received for them trying to repair it. Essentially, the total amount of all their invoices currently is $8,137.67. They are willing to waive a good portion of that, reducing the bill to $1,207. You have a recommendation from the town controller who says we ended up paying more to replace the boiler than the total amount of all the invoices. At this point, I think it may end up in litigation if we don't settle here, which is going to cost us a heck of a lot more for the attorneys to represent us than it will to actually pay the $1,200. But we're bringing it back to the board to get everybody's opinion. How would you like to move forward with this, gentleman and lady?
But we did replace the boiler,
We ended up having to replace the boiler.
and do you recall how much that boiler cost?
To replace it,
Yeah.
it was over $12,000.
And you think a lot of that has to do with the poor repair job?
It was directly related to the PM that they did on the boiler, where they didn't put the pressure, I believe it was the pressure switch back in the right setting, which ended up blowing the boiler.
Yeah. They had a pressure valve that put too much pressure into the boiler, 45 PSI as opposed to 12 to 15, which is what it was rated for.
Take
So-
the mic a little closer, I'm sorry, Sean.
Sorry.
Thanks.
So you know, it was the direct result of an improper service call and caused a lot of problems. The question I have, I'm fine with the proposal to settle the account, but more importantly, moving forward, are we still doing business with, or are we looking to continue doing business into next year with this company, or get a different company to service our boilers?
No, we terminated our relationship when the boiler went.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I would settle and let's move on.
Jamie, do you have anything you want to add on this?
No, just timing wise, so that everyone's aware, Rich mentioned that the issue arose in 2018. It wasn't, we wrote a letter to them in 2019, but it's been a whole year
Yeah.
where, I don't know if they were talking to Tricia, but they hadn't reached out to us at all in that time frame, and then reached out with the email suggesting this settlement.
No, the only thing they've been doing in the interim is sending us invoices.
Monthly invoices.
Yeah.
I agree with you that if it wound up in litigation, it would likely cost you more than this proposed settlement, which if the invoices aren't paid and they feel that's necessary, that would likely be their next step.
I agree. Yeah. Has Dennis weighed in on this at all?
I believe he does. I don't recall what it is right now, but I believe that I don't know if at this point, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I don't want to say the wrong thing.
But Dennis was very involved throughout the process with protecting the town in
Yes.
terms of the work being involved. I just saw lots of email correspondence between Dennis and the company. He was very articulate in the way that he verbalized the problems with the service, and so, you know, I appreciate that's part of the reason we hired Dennis, was to be there to advocate for the town and protect the town's assets, so to speak.
Well, I appreciate the comptroller recommending, not wanting us to fall short, but I think for the better decision is to move forward and settle.
And just a quick question, the other services, there was no issue and nothing that Dennis pointed out?
No, there was
nothing of
not.
concern.
I have no problem settling.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize payment to Clean Air in the amount of $1,207 upon a, what am I looking for?
A release.
A release of other payments?
Release of any other liabilities or obligations.
Thank you.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, my executive session, I will defer to the end of the meeting. It has to do with one legal issue and one personnel issue.
So, beach rules and regulations. I have here an email from Cassidy Speller with a concern, the Park District.
Mary? Can
You
you hear
can't
her?
hear me?
Can,
Oh, sorry.
Closer's better always, thanks.
Yep, no, I want you to keep the air on, so let me get right in here. Okay, so I have an email here from Cassidy Speller, our head lifeguard. They have concerns, I guess, when they're approaching the beach patrons. They're not being compliant with the rules and regulations regarding the COVID-19 and I guess other issues as well. So they'd like us to add to the rule sheet that hostility and disrespect toward the lifeguards or other beach patrons will not be tolerated and is grounds for removal from the beach for the day. I agree with that. I think that the rest of the board, I would think, would agree with that. I just wanted to add in here because harassment and disrespect is kind of like broad. So just as a few examples of harassment would be, let me see, some verbal, sorry, I just wanted to Google search a couple examples just so that we're clear on that we're treating everybody equitably and fairly and we're not singling anyone out and making sure that they're all being treated the same. So some examples would be verbally making remarks towards the lifeguards when they're trying to correct them for the action or creating a harassment act. I'm sorry, I had this and I lost it. Obvious verbal harassment behaviors includes things like threatening, yelling, insulting, or cursing at a victim in public or in private. So if they approach them and they ask them nicely to comply with the rules, that they shouldn't be making comments back to them. That would be considered harassment. Also, some acts of disrespect would be unreasonably critical of the person with the authority, making negative comments, mimicking them, or making fun of them when they're trying to do their job. So I just wanted to define that so that we make sure that those are the things that we would be looking for, and that would be grounds for removal from them for the beach for the day. So I'd like to make a motion to add this to the rules and regulations for the Putnam Lake Park District for the patrons going to the beach. So moved.
Second,
Second.
with quick discussion,
Sure.
or not really discussion, more just a statement. Our guards, I think this year more than ever, have had an incredibly difficult challenge with trying to maintain all the rules that they normally maintain, and then on top of that, all the frustration with the new rules for COVID and the pandemic. And so everything I've heard back from not only colleagues of mine at the health department who have the job of going to the beaches and inspecting, but also members of the public, have been that our guards have done an exceptional job of dealing with some very difficult situations. And I think anything we can do to support them, especially this year with what's been going on, I totally support. But I just want to commend all of our guards because they have been doing an exceptional job under difficult circumstances. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Also, we haven't had any issues with the algae blooms, huh?
We have.
Yes,
We
we
have?
have.
Yeah,
Oh,
unfortunately
okay.
we have. Yeah. I wish we could say we haven't, but
It was short-lived, though.
okay. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
So far.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Peter?
All right, first up, I have town planner. So last Wednesday, the town board met for a work session to discuss how we're going to go further, how we're going to move forward with the town planner position, and how to vet and find a new town planner. So most of our discussion during the work session was pretty much, first of all, we wanted to define the position, come up with a job description. We had several job descriptions from the past that we kind of looked through, and it kind of took a little bit of each. And so this is, so Rich, this is what you came up with from what we discussed. Everyone has a copy. It was pretty much kind of what we took from everything and tweaked what the qualifications were that we discussed. So, so I guess we need to next, we also decided on advertising the position. So this would be a job announcement, job description. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise the position for town planner. So moved.
Second, question. For purposes of advertising, do we want, I wouldn't think we would post this. This is a lot of information. This is a job spec more than maybe an advertisement. I was wondering, Rich, could we maybe use just the first paragraph, which, all right, so it says town planner, town of Paterson, Putnam County, salary range, and it says the town of Paterson is seeking a creative and energetic full-time town planner with diverse talents, abilities, and willingness to learn. Good writing skills a must. This is an entry-level position for the right individual interested in learning multidisciplined municipal planning. I think that's enough to then say, you know, interested candidates should send resume and letter of interest to town clerk Eileen Fitzpatrick, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that would be more appropriate than this entire, I'm asking.
Okay, so what I would do with a paper ad, something going in the paper, I certainly would take basically the first paragraph. For additional details and job description, please
See the
contact
website.
the town clerk
Yeah.
and cut it off there.
Could we also post this on our website, the entire?
Well, I could post the whole thing on our website, so it would be available, but I kind of tailored it.
Oop, your
Sorry,
microphone.
not picking you up
Sorry.
too
I
well.
kind of tailored it to go on Indeed.
Oh, okay. So, and for that purpose, I think, but if we are using this for the local press papers, because we're certainly hoping that we get a local candidate, somebody
Yep.
maybe from Putnam County or the very close proximity. For that, we wouldn't want all the information, we would just want a little,
Right.
50 words or less kind of a
Right.
post, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that authorization would be also if we wanted to do Indeed or any paper or anything like
For
that.
just general advertising.
Generalizing advertising.
Okay.
Well, is this a job spec at the Putnam County Personnel Department?
It would
Is this
It would
job-
dovetail into the Putnam County personnel job description.
Right, I mean, can you insert the link and they can go there and look at the job specification? Because they would have there the minimum qualifications as
But
well.
I'm afraid if I insert the link and they go to the civil service site, then it would start confusing some people, because
Okay.
we're doing this outside of the civil service process for the
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Everybody okay with the salary range?
Yes.
I think, starting off, it seems okay. We'll have to see whether we get qualified candidates at that range.
What do we have in the budget for this, did we budget for the town planner this year?
I believe we're carrying half of the town planner's salary, which is around 40,000.
So since we didn't say it on record, the proposed salary range is $55,000 to $65,000 a year for this position, for the entry-level town planner. So,
How long you want it to stay out?
how about due back no later than August 28th? Because by the time we get it out there, we're already the end of July. So if we can
Yeah,
get it out there for a
some
good three or so weeks, so
Yeah.
I would say by August 28th, which is a Friday. Everybody okay with
That's
that?
fine.
Okay.
I just have one comment to suggest relative to the ad. I would include the first and second paragraphs, stopping at the last line in it says clerical personnel.
You mean
I'd
typical.
include that whole second paragraph, the first paragraph,
Oh, yeah.
and end it there. And then somebody calls in, they can get additional information. Just a suggestion.
Respectfully, Charlie, I think for some of the local little papers, the amount of space needed for that much information, I think would mean you're gonna take out like a half-page ad, which is gonna be a lot of money. Because if you ever open them up and you see when Putnam County advertises, it's like 50 words or less that'd probably be an eighth. How big are those ads? They're about 4 by 4. No, they don't. They seem to be boxed, standalone. I mean, I guess you could go in the classified section, and then there's maybe more, but I don't think you're gonna fit all that without doing like a quarter-page ad or something. If you pull one of the papers that we have downstairs.
I think as far as like the papers go, I think you want something short and sweet, just to kind of stand out, okay, we're looking for a planner, and get more information.
Yeah.
Like Rich said, this was really made for Indeed, which has more,
Yeah.
someone looking for a job and click on that, maybe see that little part, click on it, and they'll give more information if they're really interested.
I guess the point is you don't want anyone deciding to apply for something based on seeing an ad this big. You want them to go say, hey, there's a job posting, let me find out more and see whether I have the qualifications, is it the right, and, okay.
There's a lot of job announcements too that don't even post the salary, which
Right.
I don't like, because if I'm looking for a job, I want to know if it's worth my time looking
Sure.
into it a little bit more. If it's $30,000 a year or $60,000 a year, that's a big difference. But so I like having the salaries.
Sure. Okay.
We still have so we had the motion. You second the motion, right? We're just
All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Aye.
Great.
Okay.
All right, good. Next I have up is received a letter from Putnam Lake resident, or concerned resident, who, I'll just read it. Dear Supervisor Williams and members of the board, there are 3 sections of South Lake Drive with limited sight distance. Speeding and safety have been a concern for many years. Lately, there have been an increased amount of both pedestrian and motorized vehicle traffic on the road, which has compelled me to write. Although the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit might be appropriate for some areas of Putnam Lake, traveling at that speed around the 3 blind curves on South Lake is not. So she did include some pictures of the different areas and the different sections. So she's asked respectfully, I asked the town board to petition the county highway commissioner and the state DOT to reduce the speed limit to 25 miles per hour pursuant to the vehicle and traffic law section 1622. Additionally, I would ask that these sections be reviewed for advisory speed limits and the accompanying yellow signs. In my opinion, it is appropriate to have change in road condition warnings for drivers to reduce speed because their current speed might be dangerous. Similar signage could be found in Patterson, including one at the north end of Lakeshore Drive. She goes on speaking about how she met with Sheriff Langley and asking for increased patrols in the area. So I know supervisor has contacted her about this, right, about the process. So
I did talk to her about the process, what would be involved. We did have the conversation about going from 30 miles an hour down to 25 miles an hour. You know, it's a reduction of 5 miles per hour. It is a town road. We might be able to get away with just petitioning the state, but typically they would want a speed limit reduction study done. That's going to run us about $4,000.
yeah, they don't do it anymore.
No,
used to.
they don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, listen, I think it's a good idea to put advisory speed limits coming up on curves.
Yeah.
You know, that's absolutely appropriate. Reducing that road down to 25 miles an hour from 30 miles an hour, I don't know that, you know, spending that kind of money to do that is really warranted. And if we are, then maybe we should be looking at some of the other roads at the same time.
So what's your suggestion?
Well, my suggestion is put the advisory speed limits up and, you know, I can send let me send a letter asking for a reduction. If I get a letter back saying we need a speed limit reduction study, then I'd say we just put the advisory signs up and call it a day. Or we decide if we're going to do a much bigger study and look at other roads, because there are other roads that, you know, equally as windy and twisty.
I think the advisory signs are very effective. The yellow signs, you know, they said, you know, kind of telling you it's a bad turn, slow down a little bit. Those usually are more effective. If you just lower the speed limit, a lot of times people won't even pay attention or even realize that it was dropped. You know, so be happy with that.
Okay.
But you know, there are a lot of bad roads around Putt Lake. People do speed around. They get comfortable. They've been living there for years. They get comfortable driving around there. You know, I've been around that area, many times walking for different reasons, and it can get pretty dangerous. You know, some cars are zipping around.
Well, it also seems that we're having a much greater problem, especially in the Putnam Lake area this year, with drivers who are driving very aggressively.
Yeah.
There was another one this morning over on Deerfield. And I don't understand why people would be driving much more aggressively this year, or people are just taking notice.
Well, I think there's a lot more people out walking around because they can't do other things. I've noticed it in my own neighborhood that, you know, there's more children out riding their bikes and families going for walks, and, you know, people are used to just whipping in and out, and they're experiencing it now. It's more noticeable.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what action do we have to take next?
Well, I think we should post the advisory signs and Rich write the letter and let's
Do we
get
need
some
to,
feedback.
Well, I would say at this point, all we need to do is authorize me to send a letter to DOT and the commissioner, the highway commissioner, Putnam County, asking for a speed reduction.
Do we need permission to post advisory signs, or is that something we just do?
I don't think we need permission, but I will verify that.
Okay. That is all I have.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize supervisor to write a letter to the DOT and the county commissioner to reduce those speed limit and find out about the advisory sign. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is all I have.
Good, Pete?
I'm good, thank you.
Next, we have, interestingly enough, Patterson Recreation Generator Repair. Dennis Mays, Building Operations and Maintenance, We are in need of a radiator replacement on the generator for the Patterson Rec Center. We have made several attempts to repair the radiator, but a short-term fix and the leak would keep coming back. So Dennis has a quote from Peak Power Systems for quote $6,714 for a replacement. I'm sure he's reviewed this with you.
Yes, I've been struggling with this because to spend this kind of money to replace a radiator, it's a little crazy.
It's a big generator.
Well, it's leaking, so
Oh, and this is what they charge for the radiator too. I mean, I looked at, no, it's
Yeah.
definitely leaking, and we looked into just buying the radiator and doing it ourselves.
But just the cost of the radiator is the biggest chunk.
Yeah.
It's really not a whole lot of labor.
the radiator's $4,500.
That's their price, not mine.
Okay.
Is it common that they charge travel time?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Well, you want me to make a motion? Do you want to table it? What do you want to do here?
No,
We gotta
we've
do
got to get
something.
it, we've got to get it repaired, because if a storm comes up, we have a power outage, we need that generator
It's
running.
not important until you need it. When the
Yeah.
lights go out, it'd be the best money you ever spent.
And the way we do it now, currently, is we go down there, it's currently off because of the radiator, we go manually start it, and then somebody stays there.
Yeah. So we're replacing it, we're not repairing it, this is for a replacement.
We're replacing the radiator.
Radiator.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to town board, approve the expenditure to Peak Power Systems for a replacement radiator for the generator at the Patterson Rec Center in an amount not to exceed $6,800. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry.
You can.
That's why I paused on the second. Is this accurate date that it was a year ago this was found, the pinhole?
Yes,
Oh.
like I said, I've been having a real
Yeah,
hard
okay.
time spending this kind of money on
All
a
right.
radiator.
All right, gotcha. Aye.
Mary, the supervisor ran out of chewing gum.
And listen, we have been using chewing gum. We've been trying to do
Gorilla
what we
tape.
can to keep this thing running and trying to find a different solution.
Anything else, Charles?
No, I'm good.
Okay. The two items I have, unfortunately, are both resignations. The first is someone we mentioned earlier, Cassidy Speller, who has been a great member of our Paterson Recreation team, and she unfortunately is resigning from her position. She says she's had greatly enjoyed her time working at the Paterson Rec and serving the community, and she wishes us all the best. This is just a situation that has arisen for her personally, and so we certainly thank Cassidy Speller for all of her years of service to the Paterson Rec community, as well as the beaches through her guard position. So that is the first one. And the second one, unfortunately, is a member of our Veterans Park Advisory Board, Bill Yellett. He has also resigned from his volunteer position. I know that Bill was very involved in the park when he first got on and has been an asset to the community. Obviously, any of these volunteer positions take a tremendous amount of time, and I know that Bill has a lot of passion for our parks, and so I appreciate all the effort that he has put in to his time on the Veterans Park Board. Those are unfortunately two resignations. I know that we are looking at applications for at least some of the volunteer positions, and we'll be talking more about that in the future. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, any board member have any other business? Public recognition?
Motion to go into executive sessions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.